How much you want the whole lobster set?
If I had to set it all, I'd probably do it for 25.
25. Are they OGL?
OGR, box and everything.
Ever score a killer deal on some hyped up kicks only to wonder later, are these even real? The fake sneaker market is a $450 billion beast. And some counterfeits are so good, even experts get fooled. So how deep does this rabbit hole go? Let's find out. So sneakers are cultural icons, status symbols, collector's items that appreciate in value now. People even treat them as legitimate investments like stock or fine art. People will drop thousands of dollars without blinking, and they'll treat those kicks like they're priceless museum pieces.
Crowd busted through this door in Indiana. And remember, as you're watching these pictures, this is all over shoes. A few people got trampled. Doors were ripped right off their hinges. The Air Jordan Retro shoes just went on sale early Friday morning.
Now this is where the problem starts. Wherever there's that much hype, that much passion, and that much money involved, you can be absolutely certain there's going to be someone, somewhere, trying to exploit it. And that's exactly where the multi-billion-dollar fake sneaker market steps in, a problem that's far more pervasive and complex than most people realize. But how on earth did this underground world get so incredibly massive, so unbelievably sophisticated, and so good at replicating the real thing? We're talking about entire purpose-built factories, often located in countries like China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, that are specifically designed and equipped to produce near-perfect replicas. Some of these fakes are so incredibly convincing that they come complete with realistic-looking boxes, seemingly authentic receipts, and even stock numbers that at first glance appear to match up with legitimate Nike or Adidas products. It's a level of detail that's, frankly, quite shocking. The attention to detail is off the charts. And here's a detail that'll really blow your mind. There are credible reports that some of these counterfeit factories are actually managing as the genuine brands. We're talking about the same leather, the same synthetic fibers, even the same specialized cushioning technologies like Nike's Air Max or Adidas Boost. So, how do they do it? Well, it's a murky world of supply chain diversions, back alley deals, and sometimes even outright theft or corruption. The result? The feel of the shoe, the texture of the material, even the weight and responsiveness can be shockingly close to the real thing. But, and this is crucial to remember, just because it looks and feels remarkably similar doesn't mean it's authentic. There are deeper issues at play. So, with fakes getting ridiculously good, how can you tell the difference? What are the clues your prized sneakers might be imposters? Stick around. We'll make you a fake-busting expert. So, one of the biggest and most obvious red flags, and it's a classic for a reason, is when the price tag is simply too good to be true. It's the old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it almost always is. If you stumble across a pair of highly sought-after, limited edition sneakers being sold for a tiny fraction of their typical resale value, your internal alarm bells should be ringing like crazy. Think about finding something like Travis Scott Jordan 1s, which can easily resell for thousands, being offered for, say, $80.
Scan, please. Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you. Sorry, I got a few nuts in there.
That's just not going to happen in the real world. It's a clear sign you're likely dealing with a fake. Another often overlooked clue is the smell. This might sound strange, but real sneakers, especially those made with high-quality materials, has a distinct, almost factory-fresh scent, a combination of new leather, rubber, and adhesives. Fakes, on the other hand, frequently have a strong, sometimes overpowering, and kind of unpleasant odor of cheap glue, harsh chemicals, or even a rubbery smell that's just off. It's a subtle difference, but your nose can often tell you a lot. And there's the quality of the stitching. Authentic sneakers from major brands like Nike and Adidas are manufactured with incredible precision and attention to detail. The stitching is always clean, perfectly even, and remarkably consistent. Fakes, even the good ones, often have flaws in this area. You might notice loose threads, uneven stitching that wobbles or deviates, or even visible glue stains where the upper is joined to the sole. These are signs of rushed production and lower quality control. Counterfeiters also tend to make subtle mistakes when it comes to logos and fonts. It might be something as small as the placement of the Nike swoosh being just a millimeter or two off, the Adidas logo being slightly misshapen or the wrong proportions, or the font used on the labels or the box being incorrect. These are tiny details that the average person might not notice, but they're crucial for authentication. And finally, let's talk about the sole of the shoe. The sole of a real high-quality sneaker, especially something like a Jordan or a Yeezy, should feel firm, dense, and durable. It should have a certain level of responsiveness and support. Fakes often have soles that are noticeably too soft, almost spongy or rubbery, and they tend to wear down much faster than the real thing. There is some shocking information right up ahead, but before we get to that, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on another amazing update. And now, brace yourself, because here's where things get truly mind-boggling: QR codes and stock numbers. You might think those are foolproof ways to verify authenticity, right? Wrong. Some of the most sophisticated fake sneakers now come with scannable QR codes that actually link to real sneaker websites like Nike's official site or a legitimate retailer. And the stock numbers on the box and the labels might also appear to check out. This is because counterfeiters are getting incredibly savvy at cloning these details. They're copying the codes and numbers from real shoes, making it extremely difficult to rely on these methods alone. It's a constant cat and mouse game, a technological arms race between the brands and the counterfeiters, and it's making authentication increasingly challenging. According to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, footwear is the most counterfeited product category globally, exceeding even clothing and leather goods. So, which specific sneakers are most likely to be faked? Which brands are hit hardest? If a sneaker is hyped and sells above retail, it's being faked. Basically, if a sneaker is popular, expensive, and in high demand, you can almost guarantee there's a thriving counterfeit market for it. Unsurprisingly, Nike and Jordan are consistently at the top of the list. They're the undisputed kings of the sneaker world, with a massive global following and a long history of iconic designs. So anything that's a limited edition, a special collaboration, or even a classic retro model is going to be heavily counterfeited. Yeezys, the brainchild of Kanye West and Adidas, are still incredibly popular despite some of the controversy surrounding the designer. The unique designs and limited availability make them a prime target for fakers, and you'll find tons of fake Yeezys flooding online marketplaces. The Off-White X Nike collaborations, those distinctive designs by the late Virgil Abloh, are also highly sought by sneakerheads and consequently heavily faked. The deconstructed aesthetic and signature zip-tie details are often replicated but rarely perfected. And it's not just athletic brands that are suffering. High-end designer sneakers from brands like Balenciaga, Dior, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton are also major targets for counterfeiters. The hefty price tag and luxury status make them attractive to those looking to make a quick profit. Specifically, the Travis Scott collaboration with Nike, especially the Air Jordan 1 models, have seen an explosion in counterfeit versions. The demand for these shoes is absolutely insane, often reaching resale prices in the thousands, and the fake Travis Scott Jordan 1s have become so good that they've even fooled experienced collectors and authenticators who know their stuff. But here's the part where this whole situation goes from being simply annoying and frustrating to being downright unethical and in some cases even dangerous. It's not just about big companies like Nike and Adidas losing a bit of money to counterfeiters. The fake sneaker market has far-reaching consequences that impact the entire sneaker community and even society as a whole. Think about it. Resellers and scammers, often operating through online platforms and social media, are knowingly passing off fakes as authentic, ripping off unsuspecting sneaker lovers who are just trying to get their hands on their dream kicks. They're exploiting the passion and enthusiasm of the community for their own personal gain. That's just not right. And perhaps even more disturbing, you have a significant number of people who knowingly purchase fake sneakers. They might try to justify it by saying something like, well, it looks exactly the same, so who cares? It's just a shoe. Or, I can't afford the real thing, so this is the next best option. But here's the harsh reality, and it's something that most people don't realize or choose to ignore. When you buy fake sneakers, you're often indirectly supporting some pretty unethical and even illegal practices. Many of these counterfeit factories are notorious for having appalling work conditions. We're talking about long hours, low wages, unsafe environments, and a complete lack of worker protections. In some cases, and this is the truly heartbreaking part, there have been documented instances of child labor being used in the production of counterfeit goods, including sneakers. So it's not just about getting a cheap shoe, it's about potentially contributing to a system that's built on exploitation, human rights abuses, and deception. Furthermore, the production of counterfeit goods often involves the use of inferior and potentially harmful materials. These materials might not meet safety standards, and they could contain toxic chemicals or allergens that could pose a health risk to the wearer. Ever wonder how far sneakerheads go to prove a shoe's authenticity? The lengths are extreme. You wouldn't believe some of the almost unbelievable tests that dedicated sneakerheads, the real die-hard enthusiasts, will perform to try and determine if a shoe is truly authentic. Some will actually go so far as burning small portions of the shoe, usually a hidden area, like the inside of the tongue or a piece of the sole, to test the quality of the composition of the glue. They believe that different types of glue react differently to heat, and this can be a clue. Seriously, though, please don't try this at home. It's dangerous and could damage your shoes, real or fake. Others will carefully cut the shoe open, often with surgical precision, to examine the internal stitching, the construction methods, and the type of materials used in the midsole and cushioning. They're looking for those tiny differences that might indicate a fake. And then there's the ultraviolet light tests. Some authentic sneakers, particularly those from Nike, have hidden branding, markings, or special threads that are only visible under UV light. These are often security features that counterfeiters miss or struggle to replicate. So a UV light can be a valuable tool in the authenticator's arsenal. And the truly shocking, mind-blowing part? Some of the most sophisticated fakes can actually pass some of these tests. That's how incredibly good the counterfeiters have become. It's proof of their dedication and their constantly evolving techniques. It's a scary thought, and it makes you wonder how you can ever be completely certain about the authenticity of a pair of sneakers, especially if you're buying them on the resale market. So this whole fake sneaker problem seems like a complete and utter minefield. How can you avoid getting ripped off? Here's how to be 100% sure. First and foremost, and this might seem obvious, but it's worth repeating, try to buy directly from the source whenever it's humanly possible. Stick to official brand stores, whether it's their physical retail locations or their official online websites. Also, use trusted, established sneaker marketplaces like StockX or GOAT. These platforms have rigorous authentication processes in place, with teams of experts who carefully examine every shoe that's sold. They use a combination of techniques including visual inspection, UV light testing, and even smell tests to weed out fakes. It's not a foolproof system, but it significantly reduces your risk. Another excellent option, especially if you're buying a particularly expensive or rare pair of sneaker, is to use third-party legit check services. There are numerous apps and websites out there that offer professional authentication services for a relatively small fee. You typically submit detailed photos of the shoe, and their experts will analyze them and provide you with an opinion on their authenticity. It might seem like an extra step or an unnecessary expense, but it can be well worth it for the peace of mind, especially if you're spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If you're buying from an individual seller, whether it's through an online marketplace, social media, or in person, you need to be extremely diligent and exercise extreme caution. Always demand detailed photos, clear, close-up pictures of every angle of the shoe, including the label, the stitching, the soles, the box, and any accessories. Ask specific questions about the shoe's history, where it was purchased, and why they're selling it. And pay close attention to the seller's feedback, reviews, and overall reputation. If they have little or no history, a lot of negative reviews, or anything that seems even remotely suspicious, just walk away. It's simply not worth the risk. And finally, and this is perhaps the most important piece of advice, trust your instincts. Trust your gut feeling. If something seems off, if the deal seems too good to be true, if the seller is being evasive or pushy, it probably is a scam. Don't ignore that inner voice of warning. It's better to be safe than sorry. Imagine this scenario. You're holding two pairs of Air Jordan 1s in your hands. One pair is completely authentic, straight from the Nike store. The other is a high-quality fake, purchased from a shady online seller. And here's the thing. To the untrained eye, they look virtually identical. The box, the laces, the tags, the overall shape and appearance, everything seems to be perfect. You might even try some of the basic checks like looking at the stitching or smelling the shoe and still not be able to tell the difference. But then, the ultimate test, the moment of truth. Someone carefully, almost surgically, cuts the shoe open, exposing the internal construction, and the difference becomes immediately apparent. Inside the fake, you might find cheap, low-density foam instead of the proper cushioning material. The stitching might be sloppy and inconsistent, with loose threads and uneven seams. The glue might be excessive and messy. The materials might feel flimsy and cheap. On the outside, it was a masterpiece of deception, a carefully crafted illusion. But on the inside, it's a clear and undeniable imitation. That's the scary reality of a fake sneaker market. It's incredibly good at fooling you on the surface, but the underlying quality and craftsmanship are often severely lacking. So, what have we learned from this deep dive into the shadowy world of fake sneakers? The fake sneaker market isn't just some minor issue affecting a small niche of collectors. It's a massive, sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar global industry, and it's a serious problem that's growing and evolving all the time. Scammers are getting smarter. The fakes themselves are getting better and more convincing. And if you're not careful, if you're not informed, and if you're not taking the necessary precautions, you could very easily end up paying a premium price for something that's completely worthless, a cheap imitation that's potentially supporting unethical and even illegal practices. But now, after this exploration, you're armed with knowledge. You know the warning signs, the tricks that counterfeiters use, and the steps you can take to protect yourself. You're equipped to navigate this increasingly complex and challenging landscape. You're ready to be a smarter, more informed sneaker consumer. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been personally fooled by a fake sneaker? Do you know someone who has? Share your stories, your experience, your tips, and your advice in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested in hearing from you and learning from your perspectives. And if you want more in-depth explorations into the wild, sometimes shocking, and always fascinating world of sneakers and the culture that surrounds them, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more exciting and informative content coming your way.